I worry we're getting ourselves into a very, very dangerous place. I really do. 8 years ago, I stood up in the European Parliament and said that what had happened in Ukraine with the overthrow of the leader, with the revolution that took place, was a direct result of us wanting to expand the EU and NATO ever eastwards, and that we shouldn't poke the Russian bear with a stick or there'd be a war in Ukraine. Now, of course, everyone thought I was wrong. And ever since then, it means I'm a Putin supporter. No, it doesn't, but I recognize the psychology of Russia and the way in which Putin can sell to the Russian people the idea they are being encircled and they are being threatened. And indeed, that's what he did on the 9th of May, earlier this week, the day when they commemorate the end of what they call the Great Patriotic War, or World War II, as we know it. And what are we doing now? Well, look, one thing for certain about Brexit is we've now got our foreign policy back. Boris Johnson and others are taking the lead. We've done more in terms of sending troops, training, equipment to Ukraine than almost anybody else, and others sort of follow in our wake. And most of you out there think that's a good thing and the right thing to do. But over the last couple of days, Boris Johnson has been in Sweden and Finland, going in guaranteeing that we will support them, as indeed they will support us in case of military problems, although I'm not quite sure what Sweden could do for us in reality. And all of that's a precursor to these countries wanting to join NATO and to NATO accepting them. Now look, given what's happening in Ukraine and the threats to Moldova and elsewhere, I can quite understand why those countries want to join NATO. I get it, I understand it. I'm sure Georgia feels much the same way today too. But the question is, should NATO, because somebody wants to join, accept them? Or are we just piling on this narrative to Vladimir Putin, especially with Finland, that now there's going to be a big land border between Russia and a NATO member state? Liz Truss even got up the other week and gave a speech saying that we will have to go and retake Crimea. Others, Ben Wallace, the Defence Secretary, saying when this is over, when Ukraine is over, there will have to be Nuremberg-style trials for Putin and many others. Well, let's be clear. Putin does not appear to be a rational actor anymore. There is no way Kiev and the west of Ukraine wants to be under Russian control. He also looks ill, which is worrying. Most doctors say he's clearly pretty heavily on steroids. There's some kind of thyroid problem. What it is, we don't know. But we do have to ask ourselves, are we dealing with a rational actor? What we're certainly dealing with is an actor whose military campaign is not going anything like he thought it would. Big, sustained losses, no sign of clear victory at this stage whatsoever, and even his biggest battleship being sent to the bottom of the sea. And here's my worry. Not that we shouldn't be helping Ukraine and other countries that wish to defend themselves in case of Russian aggression. Understand that, get that totally. And not that I want to help Putin in any way at all, but here's the scary part. This guy, if you box him completely into a corner, if you give him no way out whatsoever, might do something that is, well, has been up until now, frankly, unthinkable since 1945. They are the ones that have talked about nuclear weapons, saying there's a threat on their country. It's not true. There isn't, but it's the narrative that he's selling to the Russian people. I just would like the British government particularly, with this newfound freedom we've got with Brexit, with this new confidence we've got in foreign policy, just to think a little bit more carefully. We've got to allow this guy some way out. At the moment, we're boxing him in, we're feeding the paranoia in Russia. And who's to say, if we go on like this, that we don't create the most dangerous situation for us and the world we've seen since 1945. And yes, not just Macron, but we should also be trying to talk to Putin to ask what price peace. Now, it may well be, as it would have been with Hitler. That's impossible. But I just think, as Churchill said, George Orr is better than war. We're talking ourselves into a very, very dangerous situation. It is time to have a rethink. It is time to have negotiations, and it's time to stop ever expanding NATO eastwards.